Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Quake Pro League, where our next matchup is going to be nosfa versus DaHanG, which, for me, Flea, it fills me with a curiosity because DaHanG, we know DaHanG's DaHanG. He's got this
Yeah.
consistent level of excellence, whereas nosfa has really started to kind of climb a little bit more than he has previously in this stage. So I'm curious about this one. I'd love to see it go a bit more unpredictable, you know?
I mean, I'm excited for the exact same reason, right? nosfa, back when the Quake Pro League started, really strong showing at the opener, right? But then afterwards, he just hasn't been able to consistently perform and deliver good results. Especially if you look at, for example, the previous finals in Stage 1. I think he just lost both of his games instantly. Pretty disappointing results for quite a few people, him no doubt included. But now, in this stage, we're looking at an all-new and improved nosfa, right? He so far has only lost to Rafa, but has won 4 other games against the likes of Chain, Psygip, and Dramas. So if you compare that to DaHanG, who so far has only lost a single map against Psygip this entire stage of weeklies, then you've got two players who are really riding a high.
Now, as we go into the picks and bans, Molten Falls first with the Sorlag versus Ranger. It's going to be Exile once again with Visor and Galena, and then Deep Embrace as our final pick, Keel being taken away, and then it's the Athena versus Doomslayer. So entirely built on movement there for nosfa on the Deep Embrace. But then I think, everything else is, once again, there's a lot more standard picks coming through, and we are starting to see more and more bans. It could just be because of the map rotation of this stage, for sure. But the heavies, they're getting removed a lot more than I think we've seen it before.
Yes, indeed. Once again, Keel being removed from Deep Embrace, same thing as the previous series, and then DaHanG also banning the Scale Bearer. I'm very curious to see Athena being played on Deep Embrace. She's got a lot of utility in her kit, but of course the stack, such a squishy champion on a map that small. If nosfa can't get a good grasp on the situation, he is going to be snowballing out of control quickly. But we're starting it off, Molten Falls, Ranger versus Sorlag, then Exile, we've got the Visor versus the Galena. Pretty balanced picks, in my opinion. I would favor DaHanG on Molten Falls. Visor is really strong on Exile though, and then finally, it's all gonna come down to how nosfa can play that Athena. Generally, Doomslayer is a lot more consistent on Deep Embrace than Athena, but if you can get control and you can get the ball rolling, then she can be such a pain to deal with.
But I think when we look at that final map, the pressure's on nosfa. Regardless of kind of how things go before, whether it's a 2-0 to nosfa, 2-0 to DaHanG, whatever. When we look at that final map situation, Doomslayer, his double jump, one of his greatest benefits is that he has, I think, probably the easiest mobility execution in the entire game. He hasn't got to do any funky movement, no trick jumps. He can just double jump over certain ledges or whatever. So DaHanG, he can play this 100% just fundamental game at all times without having to worry about movement in any way. So he's always going to be in position to punish you if you're not playing your A game. And that's what Athena, at this level of play, you need to play that A game for her to really work.
Looking at the predictions, it seems that DaHanG is definitely the fan favorite. Generally, if we look at their history, right, last time they played was actually the Stage 1 finals. DaHanG won in a clean 2-0. I do think that he is likely to have the upper hand, but as I mentioned earlier, right, we're looking at an entirely new breed of nosfa. It feels like the man is so confident, very reminiscent of what we saw towards the beginning of the Quake Pro League when he was really taking down some of the absolute best in the world.
And I'd love to see that return. But we can never forget the kind of, well, the Pro League debut of nosfa, who was a showman, a people's champ, able to show this ridiculous level of gameplay, the confidence, the style, all of it to boot. A bit of a complete package, really, and still very much is, but not to the degree I think we wanted to see at the very, very beginning. But I'm glad to be talking about this potential redemption arc that's happening with nosfa right now. But he has one hell of an opponent here in the DaHanG, who has the stack advantage for sure, the mobility and the acid spit. Very good champion on the Molten Falls as we begin nosfa versus DaHanG.
Definitely going to want to keep an eye out on the player cams this time around. I think we're going to see a lot of interesting reactions. nosfa, hopefully we get to see him pop off a bit. So they're taking a fight over at the railgun. Good start from nosfa. But he doesn't have the same stack to work with as DaHanG does, so he has to still be careful. Didn't even manage to pick up the rail in that situation though. DaHanG laying down that barrier of spit, preventing nosfa from really committing, and so he's still missing that long distance weapon.
The question is, for how long? DaHanG looks for the drop down rail, was going to be unreturned damage, unfortunately not quite able to hit the mark, but with this much armor, there's plenty of time to find another opportunity, but DaHanG really controlling this half of the map so far. I know we're checking things out from nosfa's point of view, but up towards Teleporter near Rocket and down towards Heavy as it is the next objective, DaHanG really is the one in the more favorable position here. And the fact that he has a rail over nosfa certainly doesn't help matters for him.
Getting a very slow start, nosfa decides not to commit. He had the opportunity though. Does secure himself the railgun though, at long last, 90 seconds in, and nosfa, the man from Brazil, finally gets himself a key part of his kit. And now he can start maybe setting something up, trying to get full control in the long run.
It's definitely how it feels though. The fact that he went forward there, good rails. There's a reason nosfa, the second he went underneath, he rocket jumped straight towards rail and was like, look, you hit me with whatever you want, as long as I can take it, it's going to be a win here. I need this rail.
I like DaHanG's decision not to even stop for the small health bubbles. He just races over onto the big prize, the Mega, right off the bat. That one hurts. nosfa finally had managed to get himself on a decent stack, but that direct rocket to the face probably going to spell disaster. DaHanG, though, really patient, just trying to cut off his escape route and establish full control. And this is something very common among both of the Liquid players, right? They just circle around their opponent, don't want to take risky fights when there's even a small opportunity or a risk for them to lose, but instead they will go for full control and then just close the net.
Now, I did thoroughly love that play from DaHanG, though. The way he's been controlling this map, that is the first time he ran up near LG to kind of try and block off teleport. So he almost caught nosfa in too much of a comfortable defensive cycle that DaHanG, he's satisfied with the items he controls. Now he's looking to be tricky, catches nosfa off guard with the nails into rail combo, which was a nice little start. Hasn't ultimately led to a huge amount, but it's keeping the control all the same. And as you quite rightly pointed out, this is what DaHanG plays for. He'll get a frag when the time is right, but if he can keep all the items, that's going to be objective number one. He has everything right now.
nosfa is playing this extremely cautiously, just trying to get himself up to that base stack of 100 armor, which he does secure at this point. He knows where his opponent is. Rail doesn't connect. That's a shame. Can he set up for Heavy? DaHanG actually going for some fast rocket jumps. Oh, nosfa! Good play. Very clever and quick on both his feet and thinking. He's even gonna catch the lizard off guard. Lots of damage, misses the rail.
Oh no!
My God, can he find it? The LG will finish it off. nosfa, despite missing probably the easiest shot we've seen this series, he does clutch it in the end. Beautiful work from the Brazilian man.
Oh, and he's able to beat him to the Mega though, so it's going to be a 1-to-1. Gets the rail. Now it will be weapons. nosfa putting himself into position ready for the refrag and he's able to find it. Wow, though, the amount of setup went into that first frag that nosfa got. The clutch being able to get that dire orb so he's not going to be at death's door, and then the surprise attack around the corner. He just played everything perfectly there.
nosfa is a brawler. That's at least how many always look at him. But he has got the strategic mind of a mastermind as well. The LG needs to be good. Mega spawns in time as nosfa extends his lead. Ketchup. Dare we ask if DaHanG is going to lose his second map this entire stage? Because nosfa is looking good so far.
I mean, there's plenty of time for it to not happen. As DaHanG gets that heavy and nosfa's just looking for information so far. We have a lead, but we don't want to just let that Sorlag come speeding round a corner when I'm already being significantly outstacked. Now the objective, survive.
Needs
Mega
a little
is up.
more. Yeah, he's still railable. Exactly at 90 points of health. DaHanG coming around the corner. nosfa, can he get out? Uses the orb and indeed survives a little longer.
They both look for one of those kind of why not rails.
Man, this out of control evasive play is absolutely brilliant from nosfa right now. Using the orb to such great effect. avoiding getting caught in these sticky positions, but he needs more. He's got the weapons, that's a really solid start, but he needs stack. And there just don't seem to be any armors on the map for him to work with, as DaHanG has now secured full control of Mega and Heavy. They're on a nice rotation too.
I mean, let's talk about his pathing too on this defensive play. The fact that he uses the orb. Wait a minute, here's the rail fight. DaHanG's not quite able to land it, but that rocket is... Ooh. Ooh. Oh, that rocket's good.
Glorious. That's one way of putting it. Felt like a homing rocket. 100 damage is the only thing that could have killed his opponent. And so that's exactly what the accounted budgeted for. Secures himself Mega as well, and now nosfa doesn't have the railgun. And I think that DaHanG is aware of this. And we know how good nosfa is with that weapon. We've seen the kind of damage he can do with it and how crucial that weapon is to his defensive playstyle. So the Brazilian very much wants to get his hands on that one again.
But again, playing a rather slippery game of just being hard to pin down. And nosfa, he knows just how much stack DaHanG's going to work with, and he knows that the items are going to get picked up in the downtime. It's saw lag. Oh, but this time taken by surprise. Unfortunately, caught by the acid spit. Definitely didn't want that because his information is completely given away, and DaHanG knows where you're going to go to get that stack back up and running. The second he got hit by that acid spit, that's really, I think, where he was a done deal, because you have all that information of the damage numbers through the map, and DaHanG, he knows roughly where you are anyway, and being able to have that much clarity, okay, you're probably going to pick up a health bubble to stop the bleeding. Let me just put this little predictive rocket down there real quick, and there we go.
Things definitely moving along at a crawl. Oh, that was some good damage. nosfa is actually going to commit. That's so risky, though. Can he get the frag? No, DaHanG! 5 points of health. Oh, the damage output just wasn't quite there. nosfa, one more cell of LG would have done it. And now he is trailing against an opponent who is far faster than he is. Sorlex, he's just got that mobility to work with, but he does have the orb. That's gonna be the ace up his sleeve.
And it now has come back. But we're looking at that next item. There's a reason we're here towards heavy. nosfa. This is part 1. But one edge that DaHanG will have is that constant movement. This is where we kind of start to see a champion that's not really built for movement versus one that is. Those closing kind of couple of minutes of a map. Yes, nosfa has the orb, but if he uses it to chase down, he's not going to have the damage payout when he appears to get the fight, and that's where the acid spit is going to completely shred you. So DaHanG, absolutely, you know, he has the advantage here, not just by the frags, but the fact that he's got the stack to sit on it, he can play the defensive game if he has to run away. Now the orb is gone. You know, if I chase you and I'm Sorlag and you're Ranger, Sorlag is always going to be the one to get away. Ooh.
Yeah, that's a good opener. Dropping straight into that.
No!
Oh, no! How does DaHanG keep getting away with this? Ketchup feels like he's at death's door time and time again, but nosfa unable to close it out. This is so close. The Brazilian Thunder still has got an opportunity, though. A minute left to work with. There is still time, but it is dwindling. He needs to land those shots, and he's just not. Can he find the rail? Or maybe a good rocket? He needs to. Oh, I don't know. Does he still have time to go all the way around, secure himself the Mega, and then track DaHanG down again?
Yeah,
I'm
not even
sure.
factoring in that if he frags DaHanG, even if DaHanG gets himself armor or whatever, it might be nearby, he's going to spawn with a giant stack. So whatever nosfa puts into getting this one frag, he needs to have plenty left in the tank for when the next fight breaks out, if he can even find him, which at this point, he does not have time to do. So DaHanG, he finds him, but now he has no stack. DaHanG has all of that. Not happening. Not a chance. Gets the rail, but there's just no time to get the damage that he needs. And that was the nature of a heavy champion like Sorlag in that situation. And DaHanG playing the kind of defensive game incredibly well. And even if nosfa got that frag, which he did, he just mathematically did not have time. There was no way he could get the damage off a freshly spawned heavy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the last opportunity he had was at that fight at the teleporter. nosfa, he needed to press that one. He didn't have the opportunity to go all the way around to the Mega, get himself stacked back up. Yes, he needed to push against DaHanG who was waiting above, but you know, he probably had a 20-30% chance of, you know, winning that engagement, and that's the best that he could have hoped for in that situation. So I do think he should have just taken that engagement, but it is DaHanG, the liquid player from America, who stands tall in map 1, but he did not go untested at all. This was a close game, could have absolutely gone either way.
Yeah, the beginning of the end was that missed rail down near, you know, where power-up normally spawns, that center point. The fact that there was an initial rail gotten out by nosfa, quicker on the trigger finger during that exchange, but he missed. And it was the return rail that allowed DaHanG to get that frag, stabilize, and then begin what was the kind of slowly climbed victory near the end, where it was just defensive play, keeping your stack nice and high, and remembering, hey look, I'm Sorlag, I got plenty left if I come back. So, no time to reflect on that, because we're moving into Exile. Medium versus medium. It's going to be the Galena with DaHanG and the Visor. I know you mentioned, you know, Visor definitely seemed to be a really strong champion on this map. There's just so many places one can go that a piercing sight definitely helps.
Absolutely, nosfa, he's going to be on point and really seek out those totems, right? We saw what could happen with them earlier on the match of Veil of Nav when we were still watching CNZ versus Base. Base made such good use out of those Galena totems, and nosfa is really going to have to chase them down, because I would argue that Exile is an even better map to hide them on than Veil is. So he is going to have to use that piercing sight ability. I imagine he's basically going to be popping it non-stop. The moment he has it available, he's not going to wait. He wants to always know where DaHanG is at and what he's scheming up next, whereas DaHanG is probably going to be playing more of a evasive, defensive game.
And an evasive, defensive game against an opponent that you know can see your every move is always tricky. It's why Visor's so strong. You take an already fundamentally skilled Quake player and you give them utility of that capacity, and it's a match made in heaven. But if you are on the receiving end of it, that's where you've just got to be super careful. You know, you kind of, unless you know that the piercing sight is gone, there just needs to be so much more, I think, thought into certain decisions. Because, hey, look, if the piercing sight just so happens to be active now and there's a rail angle here, this could totally change the game. So a lot to think about. But now it's going to be Exile, which I'm really enjoying watching this more and more. You know, there's that recent clip of Rafa on his stream getting that really cheeky ring out against Invisible Nyx on this exact map. The evil laugh. That was quite a clip. That was. Now, I actually believe we might have had a player disconnect, perhaps. I think we might be going back into the lobby. We were just about to finish the warm-up, but I can't see nosfa in here, so he might have had to go for a restart.
Yep, looks like we are indeed going to take a minute extra to set up this map, but don't go anywhere, because we are going to continue this series momentarily. And indeed, what you said, that Rafa clip was so good. I think that Exile is claiming so many lives. Maybe instead of just doing predictions about who's going to win, we could have, like, how many ring outs are we going to see on Exile this time around?
You take one look at that map, even when it first hit, you look at like where the rail is and stuff like that, and you're like, okay, interesting. Everyone's going to fall off here, and that's pretty much what happened. It doesn't happen so much in like high-level duels. You can get ring outs and stuff, but I think there's definitely an argument to be made that Exile is without question the most perilous map.
Definitely. I remember playing it for the first time and was like, oh man, this looks really cool. And then you see that pit and I was just like, oh no. Oh no. This is going to be something else when this gets played. Sync error, laughing.
I was about to say evil laughter. You evil man. That's just
but it's
absolute
a great map.
Intention.
It's a great map. It's a lot of fun, and I think that we are going to see these two players bring out the best as we are once again loading into Exile. For those of you just joining us, DaHanG managed to barely win map 1, extremely close, came down to 1 frag. So let's see how map 2 will continue.
And it's just, you know, the nature of these newer maps, you just don't have as much of that kind of prior information. Exile been played a fair amount now, especially seeing as, look, it's in the current rotation, right? So everyone's going to be scrimming on it, practicing on it, whatever the case may be. But there's always that one small little shred of unpredictability, I find. We saw it even, later down the line, like Deep Embrace, when we saw that at the first kind of initial push. It was, we were kind of seeing new tricks weeks and weeks in. Now, unfortunately, it does seem like there has been another disconnect, so we're going to be returning back into the party. Apologies for this. Not quite sure what's going on here. I might have to remake the lobby or remake the party or something, but as soon as the map is ready to go, trust me, we will, because we've voted in twice now. And you're just gonna have to take our word for it, folks.
Yeah, nosfa seems to be having some technical issues, but hopefully we can get those sorted out in just a moment and continue this series. DaHanG, right? We were talking about it earlier. So far, he has only lost a single map this entire stage, and that was against Saigip. Whereas on the other hand, nosfa had a pretty disappointing Stage 1 finals, but is really just bringing it this time around, having beaten 4 players already, his only loss so far being against Rafa. And Rafa, I mean, it almost seems like it's an inevitability, except when your name is Zeneku, who came awfully close just a few weeks ago. But this should nevertheless be a very interesting series. Let's see if nosfa can make something happen.
I'd like to see it, because there's always, with every new stage comes kind of a new storyline. And the storyline does tend to be the climb of 1 or 2 players that are kind of either returning to form, like a Cypher or something, where Cypher just started to ascend during Season 1. But also players that have always kind of had an expectation that are able to finally match that. Now, there's definitely, I think, the most common player that we can talk about in that respect is definitely Zeneku, because Zeneku is a player that has just, man, it's like a light switch. You woke up one day and went, I'm going to start winning now, and just absolutely starts to do incredibly well. And obviously, I jest, it's through hard work and graft and taking it very, very seriously. Clearly the hard work does pay off. But nosfa is another one of those players that I'd like to see kind of fit into that category. I think he's well on his way to reaching that point, and he's definitely doing better now than he kind of recently has. And DaHanG is going to be a strong opponent here. He's just reconnected to the lobby, so we'll be jumping in. Hopefully, we'll be good to go. But again, folks, sorry for the delays. As soon as the match is ready, rest assured we'll be in there to check it out.
Another player who I think has just been making some really strong improvements recently was Avek, right? Avek now so far the only player on the European side of the bracket who has gone undefeated during this stage, have taken out some absolute giants, right? Cypher and Razy, for example, my goodness. I don't think many players would have expected that. Ketchup, I remember us, I think it was still back in the first season, but we were talking about Avek is facing relegation. He needs to win quickly because he might be dropping out of the Pro League. And look at this man now, number 2 EU, absolutely wiping the floor with plenty of players. So I'm excited for that game coming up later. But first, we've still got nosfa versus DaHanG on our hands. Third time a charm.
I'm keeping both of my fingers crossed underneath this camera. You can't see it, but rest assured, I am trying to give it the blessing. But hopefully we should be okay now, as we do, for the third time, jump into Exile, which, just to remind everyone, matchup-wise is going to be Visor versus Galena. So it's the 2 mediums, it's utility in either way, health and trickiness on one side, and then the other side, always going to be that piercing sight with how many different places you can be. I think he's here. Yeah, the warm-up's coming to an end. I tell you what won't be warm, Exile, because there's ice everywhere. Let's go.
Let's go. Let's just end it on that one. Yeah, let's go indeed, as we're starting it off on nosfa's point of view, getting the mega right away, and as predicted, Ketchup immediately popping that piercing sight, making the most out of the information. But now he's kind of stuck. Doesn't have a rocket, doesn't have a rail, but DaHanG doesn't have an LG, and it shows. The American player stuck between a rock and a hard place, and it will be nosfa securing himself the first frag, but he is tender. Heavy's about to spawn. Looks like DaHanG isn't going to contest for a quick refrag. And Mega, nosfa delayed it slightly. He might have an opportunity to secure both of the items now.
You definitely look at that initial piercing sight and think that on this map in particular, it's going to be quite important to figure out exactly what kind of map start your opponent has had. There's just so many avenues you can go. Definitely a tricky map. However, a bunch of damage dealt out by DaHanG, sitting on all the weapons that he needs now. And as Heavy spawns, what's the play? Uses the jump pad, but that rail, ooh, at least bonus, I suppose. nosfa was able to get that second rail off, but he was definitely a done deal. There was nothing he was going to do to save himself there.
Happy to see that nosfa is indeed hunting for those totems. DaHanG already had 2 out of 3 up for a moment there. nosfa managed to destroy at least one, but is now caught in a bad spot. He's trying to make his way onto Heavy, but I don't think he'll even have the stack to really go for it. But hang on, DaHanG will actually surrender position for a while just to get himself some more stack. And Heavy will go his way as well. Now nosfa, even though it's a tied game, is most definitely in the worst position of the two, but that rail is going to help. Oh, nosfa! I was watching him. He was positioned up above Heavy and tried to jump in between the pillars, and he just fell. Catch up.
I just said this is the most perilous map. I was watching it from DaHanG's point of view as well. The stream didn't get it at all.
I saw.
Maybe Flea, maybe it's for the best.
I think it is for the best. It's heartbreaking. It kind of just jumped the wrong way, but.
Ooh, that's another cheeky little totem actually that DaHanG drops down there. You try and drop down there if you have that position, land on one of them, give your position away, take damage. And these totems are starting to get set up. Here comes that rail opening now from DaHanG, who's sitting on no armor. So he's rather tender in this exchange. Does not want to go up the jump pad though. Far too obvious. Too risky. Ooh! That rocket was a cute one. Nearly. Ah, and there's the piercing sight. I think DaHanG heard it. Boom.
Solid play from nosfa. Working his way back into this, and you can tell, right, nosfa, he's a professional. There's a lot of players who, when something like that happens to them, it affects them for the rest of the game, but not nosfa. You just know that he can keep his head in the game, he can move fastest, and he can land some delicious directs. 1, 2, and the LG to finish it. DaHanG desperately dropping down a totem to help him mid-fight, but it won't matter in the end, as nosfa is quick to tie it right back up. Oh, that's the fumble on the weapon. nosfa, can he even get Mega? No! He dies just before once. That was
the reason
bizarre.
he can't is because DaHanG keeps that surgical timing all the time. He knew with how much damage he'd dished out through what was absolutely a fumble at range. nosfa just getting caught doing no damage, taking a whole bunch of it, and then as he puts himself near Mega to try and just back up on, DaHanG goes, well, I know when this is going to spawn, mate, and you are too early.
DaHanG, indeed, widely considered to be one of the best timers in the entire scene. nosfa going for the exact same move that didn't work out last time. But this time DaHanG does retreat, doesn't stick around because he knows he's weak. And now nosfa has got some solid control, but he's missing weapons. Doesn't have rail or rockets, and so he can't really pressure his opponent the way he'd want to. First, gotta get himself that arsenal going. DaHanG. 2 of the totems, needs 1 more for the overstack. Is nosfa gonna let him?
Looking for some of those predictions just in case DaHanG uses a teleporter or something, but not quite. Now he's going to get himself Mega. DaHanG, ooh, has the rail, but is unable to really do anything afterwards. Just doesn't have the health.
Nice. nosfa solidly taking out those totems. He's got 1 rocket left and no LG. nosfa, you gotta get out. You can't take the fight without ammo. And he realizes it just on time, but shows his face. I think nosfa was just like, well, I've got piercing sight. I can line this shot up. He is not going to retaliate. DaHanG, that unzoomed railgun, you know how it does. It stings.
That rail was DaHanG saying, respect me. Bang. Just like that. Rail out of nowhere. It'd be wise, you would definitely think that nosfa had the upper hand, but he's doing a bunch of damage with this plasma. Unfortunately, it is all he has, and he gets knocked down. DaHanG finishes it off. There is another totem to fall back on, and DaHanG's totem placements, they've been so tricky, never in the same place. nosfa's doing a good job of challenging them, but it's still DaHanG, the opportunities to stack constantly.
Yeah, DaHanG's totem game, phenomenal as usual. Feels like every single time he's got a totem, just hidden away somewhere around the nearby corner that he can just dip into for the extra little bit of health, and nosfa is unable to really deal with it. Now the man from Brazil has got the stack advantage. DaHanG has got no armor to his name whatsoever, and nosfa is even going to secure a mega. This is an opportunity he has to make something with. He cannot allow DaHanG to just continue stacking up.
One of those classic scenarios where nosfa's taken a bunch of the important items, but it very much seems to be because DaHanG just isn't interested in challenging it. The piercing sight comes through, but now it's gone. Just like that, DaHanG could be anywhere now. Looking for totems, always keeping an eye on totems. And DaHanG just goes back to just playing the game of just wait for nosfa to eventually show himself. Hit the opening damage, normally a rail. Nice little bit of rocket damage. Ooh, good little rail there too from nosfa. But he has no armor to his name, so jumping down here is a risky business. DaHanG probably not expecting nosfa to drop down there.
DaHanG's LG is on fire, as his is Stack, because he's got those 3 totems up and running. He's railable though, but so is nosfa. Can he secure himself the heavy? Good play from nosfa. Extremely aggressively. He knows that time is running out. 2.5 minutes left to work with. And DaHanG making his own overstack right there. Good positioning. Holding down the choke points. nosfa forced to push through and eat a lot of rocket damage. And that way the Liquid player stays in control, stays in the lead, at least for now.
Piercing sight, springs the trap. Oh, lightning gun, definitely the right tool for the job, but DaHanG able to get the one rail that saves his skin. nosfa, the drop down. Okay, we set something up here.
I love the pacing on DaHanG's jump right there. He just didn't jump while nosfa was hitting him with LG because he knew he would just get knocked off, just waiting it out.
And that's definitely why nosfa had the LG. I mean, it's the weapon you use down there for sure. Enter Rafa's evil laugh somewhere. Ooh. Okay, bonus rocket damage. Information more than anything else. He's going to need a lot more than that, though. He's got 3 frags to get here, Flea.
Yeah, I was about to say, time is running out. He can secure all of the items he wants, but it is frags what he's really in need of. Rocket ammo wouldn't hurt either. He's only got 1 of those left. But DaHanG playing a very cautious, evasive game. Oh, nosfa's gonna hear him. He's gonna drop on that LG. Is this going to work? It will not. nosfa. That's very likely the GG right there. Catch up. Just a little late on the reaction. Didn't realize that DaHanG was down below. And then desperate on the drop onto that LG. And if this rocket connects, which it will, I think that'll be the final nail in the coffin as DaHanG will secure himself a 2-0 lead in this series already.
And then we're talking about the final map. That final map's going to be Deep Embrace, where we have the Athena versus the Doomslayer, and we had mentioned that the ball is going to be in nosfa's court to really make that matchup work, I think, with the way that DaHanG approaches things, especially on a map like that. Unfortunately for nosfa, he has had I don't want to say disastrous, but there's been a couple of mishaps here on this map. You know, the accidental ring out just falling off the map, basically.
Yeah.
Allowing a GG, DaHanG just continuing to play phenomenally well. But it is his level of consistency that makes him such a scary opponent, because it's hard to catch him having a bad day. And I say that about some people that really are consistent for that reason. It's not, you know your enemy, you know who you're going up against here. And DaHanG, he's going to have timing perfectly. He displayed it a couple of times on that map where nosfa tries to get there too, earlier. But because DaHanG perfectly times it, he knows he can push in, kill you first, and then take it once you're dead.
It all comes down to the famous liquid control, right? nosfa had a really good start getting himself that initial frag. But then afterwards, DaHanG felt like once he got... There we see it. There we see it. Yeah. You can tell. He's disappointed with himself for that one, because he brought it back to a tight game after that one still. So he could have once again regained the lead, and who knows what might have happened then. But towards the end, though, DaHanG's control was just... It was too much for nosfa to bear. Deserved win for DaHanG, but there is still one more map to go. nosfa still has a good opportunity to secure himself some of that cash, and I think that this is the matchup that I was most interested in. We've got the Athena on Deep Embrace.
Yes, indeed. She has the mobility, she has the high-octane nature that can really overwhelm, but, and I say but, DaHanG has got Doomslayer.
Yeah.
On a map where the double jump lets him just navigate so easily, that there's certain points where the double jump just means, oh look, heavy, boom, and that's it. Here I am. And that's just one of the many areas where a double jump just makes things so easy for him. Going up against an Athena that to get that kind of similar mobility is going to need to use the hook and the grappling hook. Yes, she's going to be faster, but she's a lot squishier. And with how things have been going so far, nosfa, I think, is going to have to play a rather incredible game to really match that of DaHanG, because he's going to be able to easily put himself in position. He's going to be able to easily navigate this map without having to worry about his own movement. nosfa, he's just going to have to work harder here. You know, that's basically what I'm trying to say.
Can he do it? That's the big question, right? We've seen Athena played on this map before. There's a few interesting things that she can do. Very quick to make her way over from Mega to Heavy and get an extremely fast rotation going on. But on the other hand, that stack advantage, right? The stack that DaHanG has to work with the Doomslayer could really put her at a disadvantage. One bad rail of the spawn and you're basically crippled up until you can evade your opponent long enough to restack. And if you're playing someone like DaHanG who is so control-based, and that might be an impossible task.
Now, almost immediately, we see that grappling hook being used. nosfa's pushing forward. But the starting machine gun, DaHanG looking pretty unfazed by it, and now has a rail in hand. Not that he needs it at the moment. I say starting machine gun, that was definitely heavy, because he's got it now. As the Mega gets taken, DaHanG, I think, coming off a little bit better here, and that rail definitely doesn't help matters for nosfa.
This is a risky start. DaHanG's gonna hear that. Knows he can't just go through just yet. And now nosfa falls. First frag. And look at that. One bit of rocket damage off the spawn and nosfa.
Oh no, man's gonna throw down the rail!
Can he find? No!
The second that rail hit, anyone that's played Doomslayer enough knows what comes next. You've hit the rail, I need to be quick, but it's mine. And that's exactly what happened there. Rip and tear until it is done, my dudes. But here we go now, 2-0, another rail. And nosfa, what concerns me here is that, look, he's a light. He's going to spawn with no armor. And if DaHanG keeps getting those opening rails as you appear, what do you do?
Exactly why I was so concerned myself. And we're just going to see that happen more and more. DaHanG spawns. He takes a rail, or rather, nosfa spawns, takes a rail, and then DaHanG just closes the gap with heavy machine gun, LG, or shoddy. And I think that that might just be the course of action for the foreseeable future until nosfa really finds a way to break that control. He does at least secure a small armor to work with, messes up the grapple hook to get on top, and will fall before he even secures the bubbles.
Getting caught off the spawn too it's one of the easiest positions to just calculate damage and when you should swap weapons. Now, if DaHanG catches you on spawn and hits you with a rail, like he now knows one or two more rails. You know, if I hit you with that rail, I don't even need to stick with the rail for the final shot. nosfa pushes forward. I mean, he's really trying to strong arm himself forward. Yes, he's taking away some of the lights that are around here, but the rails! DaHanG just refusing to miss right now. Oh, this is looking rough. 6-0. We've only just had 2 minutes. Ooh, that's an oof. Oh dear.
Ooh, that almost worked out for nosfa somehow. He finally gets a heavy. Don't think he's had many of those yet. And now DaHanG playing a bit of an evasive game. Good use of the grapple hook by nosfa, but he just doesn't connect with that second rocket the way he meant to.
Oh, no. With the way things are going for Lee, DaHanG definitely got the better deal with the spawns. He spawns right near rail, the weapon that has been causing nosfa so much trouble.
DaHanG is just hitting these ridiculous shots, and this is not an easy target. Athena, she's small, she's fast.
Yeah, I know. I pick her an Instagib because of that. Like, oh!
Nevertheless, DaHanG, his aim is on point. 10 frags already. We're barely 3 minutes into this one, Ketchup. This is shaping up to be a slaughter.
You say shaping up to be a slaughter, but it's 10-1 in 3.5 minutes. I feel like we've already reached that point. Oh, that mid-air. Ugh. Makes me feel sickly. Ugh.
That was a nasty shot indeed. And it feels like every time that nosfa succeeds at anything...
He's got Berserk. I think he was eyeing up Berserk. Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Probably. He was definitely considering it. I really feel like nosfa, every time something goes his way, DaHanG is there to punish it. Like, he gets a frag, it's a trade. He finally lands a few rails in a row, DaHanG does the same and switches out the Berserk to finish it off. Good rockets this time around, though. nosfa was just not expecting DaHanG to actually land on top of that little ledge right there.
Surprise.
And it ended in disaster.
And nosfa picks up a mega, but no armor still. And no armor has been the constant problem. Oh, 15-2, 4.5 minutes. There's so much more of this beatdown left to go. Now, I'll be honest, with how the set went and that nosfa hasn't really brought his A game today, I was a bit nervous we were going to see something like this. Because DaHanG, all he has to worry about is just being in position. He can just, you know, move from point A to point B, keeps the stack advantage. He's hitting really good shots all day anyway. And nosfa really had to step up with this one specific matchup. It was a high risk. You know, Athena can be high risk, high reward. Because although she does bring almost unrivaled mobility sometimes, when it doesn't work out, this happens.
I love DaHanG doing self-damage half a second before the small armor spawns.
He saw the weapon.
DaHanG was just timing the small armors to the second. Not just like, yeah, no, I kind of know it's after this one. No, he knows exactly at what time it is going to reappear. nosfa now once again caught in an impossible situation. One rail will finish it. Shotgun probably will do the same. DaHanG not going to let his prey get away with that transgression. And now he's catching his opponent off the spawn time and time again. Ketchup. If this continues at this pace, we might be looking at the highest scoring game I think I've ever seen the Quake Pro League.
I mean,
if this keeps up.
I mean, if being able to like GG early was ever an option, this would be one of those maps that would happen because nosfa, we've just gone like a minute over halfway and this map is done. This map was done in 3 minutes, it felt like. This has just been an absolute slaughter of a map. With it being 21-2, nosfa has not had a chance to exist at all because the second he makes his presence known, he gets clipped by a rail. It's the beginning of the end. He's trying not to make his presence known, somehow gets clipped anyway. DaHanG's able to constantly pin him down. Speaking of which, yeah, you're done. You're done. No, never mind. The one place Berserk is not going to work. He can't get through that little hole. nosfa, cheeky.
That extra little bit of hang time. His head caught on the ceiling.
Back to it.
Yeah, back to normal. DaHanG was like, alright, you can have this one. But now he wants to clean this up. Off the spawn, one rail into the LG. It's just standard practice now, doesn't it? It's just DaHanG, he gets the rail of the spawn, switches to LG, and he cleans it up. And that's just how he's playing this game. And nosfa, straight up unable to do anything against it. Finally secures himself the heavy. Good rails. He needed that, but at a deficit of an enormous 21 frags. What can you do?
At this point, nothing. There really is nothing he can do here. This is going to be do what you can to try and soften the blow a little bit, perhaps. But this is a 3-0, a done deal. DaHanG demonstrating absolute demolition in this final map, as the frag lead seems to go at this point easily going to break 30 frags in a single map, something that you almost never ever see in the Pro League. And oh, what was that rail? That second one, all right, a bit easier, but that first one, DaHanG has just been giving us a bit of a 10-minute frag movie, I think, with the way things are currently going.
nosfa by now is just waiting for this to be over. The tracking with the nails, perfection to say the least. DaHanG He doesn't want to leave it in the high 20s. He wants to get at least 30 frags before he ends the map. And I think that's well within the realm of possibility. Yeah.
I will be shocked if he doesn't, the way things are going right now, Flea. nosfa, it just felt like at an early point, trying to put himself too far forward. Off the spawn, taking some pretty predictable openings, perhaps, running to that item, running to that, health or rocket launcher. And DaHanG, he's already prepared for where you're going to spawn. And it seems like nosfa was always within his sights, Oh, there's the 30. And how much more can he get with 1 minute to go?
What went wrong for nosfa today? Maybe we can already start talking about that one, since this is not going to change. He had a strong first map, right? That could have gone either way. The one on Molten Falls, nosfa, a few more seconds, and he absolutely would have tied it up. Second one, DaHanG faring better, especially towards the end of the game. And then this one, it just absolutely slipped out of nosfa's grasp. I think the Athena was just a tremendous mispick.
Yeah, there's definitely been a matchup mismatch going on because nosfa, he gave himself, maximum damage. 35, triple it. But yeah, there's definitely been a bit of a mismatch here, Flea, because nosfa went into this map, oh god, 33 frags, someone throw in the towel already. 10 seconds away, thank goodness. But an absolute annihilation. He wants one more. Can he land it? And It's a trade. How fitting. nosfa can't even get the final frag here as DaHanG. In dominant fashion. I don't even need to really say it. We all just saw what happened there. But yeah, there really is a big part of that happening because of the matchup that was put forward. nosfa had to do all the work. He had to play perfectly. He needed to get an early lead, I think, because when you're behind as a light in that situation, he almost never had armor to begin with.
DaHanG really is just proving himself once more, right? Back during the previous stage catch-up, I think there were quite a few people looking at his performance going like, we expect better, right? DaHanG, he's an absolute top-level player. He still is, but this is not what we're used of him. Especially when you consider how many people were talking about, well, is Chain now going to be the number 2 NA? This time around, this stage, DaHanG has just completely turned that upside down and decided, you know what? I am going to show everyone exactly what I am capable of. So far, he's only dropped a single map, meaning that he is tied with his teammate Rafa, exactly the same performance, even though he will have overtaken Rafa after today because of this extra matchup played. But congratulations to Liquid, to DaHanG, well played. nosfa, he started off very strong, but I feel like just the mispick on the Athena was disastrous. And then that second game, a few too many mistakes, like that unforced ring out that was just the beginning of the end.
Yeah, it was just one of those matches where DaHanG plays excellent as always, and nosfa just wasn't really in the 100%. It definitely didn't seem like the same nosfa that we'd seen throughout the course of stage 2, That final map, I think most of us in that position, when you've lost so many frags, you kind of just go through the rest of the map. There's not much you can do, and I kind of don't. It almost looked a little bit like he'd given up a bit, and I can't really blame him for it, given the fact that there truly was no way he was going to bring himself back in. But unfortunate for nosfa, great for DaHanG, who gets another swift result and a really convincing one. We will be moving on to our next matchup. We're going to go for a quick break, and when we come back, Series 3 of the day will continue.